What's up, guys? Welcome back to the bench. As you can see, I have been busy at work. Excuse me. I decided to, and I mean, there's probably an extreme difference in kit quality, but I hadn't really done a Hobby Boss kit, and I had this one, so I kind of wanted to see, get a little experience with how their kits are before I started anything. And I've always really liked the design of the F5. And boy, I have been sanding and filling, especially for some reason where these intakes go on, they just don't line up at all. And so I've been sanding, and now you can see, and it's not even touching the putty, there's a gap. So major work ahead for me. This is kind of the first, I would say, extremely cosmetic job. So I wanted to kind of talk about it. You know, what do you guys use to fill and stuff? Personally, my go-to right now is this little plastic putty, just because it has this applicator. You can put it right on the seam and just do a nice bead. I do recommend waiting at least 24 hours before you sand, otherwise it just kind of like peels off. And it isn't perfect. I've noticed sometimes depending on how big it is of what your filling is, it can shrink. So I generally only use this for small seams and stuff. But like you guys can see here, I've really sanded down on this fuselage where it went together. Which that's pretty standard in my opinion. The other thing I have, which I haven't used as much of because it's a little bit of more effort, but you can make some cool stuff with it, especially if you do a lot of dioramas. But if I have to, this is Milliput. It's a two-part putty. It looks like there's a couple different colors, but I mean this one, this just looks like a turd in a bag. But yeah, you basically mix them 50-50. You know, everybody will make some. You always make too much. It lasts a long time depending on what you're doing. I've actually made some cool diorama bases. You can kind of sculpt this into different things. But that works pretty good. That's ultimately probably what I'll end up, you know, I may put some pins in there just to give it some structure, and then I'll fill that in. Just that's a big gap for just plastic putty. The other thing I've heard people do is they'll use just some super glue, some thicker super glue, and then they'll wait for that to dry and sand it down. I've seen people, you know, save their plastic shavings and mix that with the super glue and put it in and sand that down. And that works pretty good. The big one, I don't actually have any of it right now, is what's called sprue goo. And basically what you do is you take your cement and you take an old sprue. This is for the kit, so it's still got parts, but you just cut bits off. You drop it in, you know, maybe this actually might be a good amount gone in my thin cement to mix up a batch of putty. And then basically it's just melted sprue, and you just kind of work it in. It works better for seams because it's really thick, and then you squish it together and it basically dries into plastic. I kind of don't prefer it just because it takes a long time to dry, like a really long time. And I actually, on my F15 that I did back in January, there's a couple places I used sprue goo, and you can kind of see when it kept drying, it just kind of shrunk. That's the biggest thing, is shrinking. So yeah, that's basically the types. The ones I've used is these and sprue goo. I actually haven't tried doing the super glue method yet, just because it gets everywhere, and you know. But yeah, and then I actually do recommend, if you have something like this, just a little Dremel. I actually got this at Harbor Freight. You can get some sanding wheels and stuff. This one actually I got off Amazon. Comes with pretty high grit, and that just kind of makes work go a lot faster. Otherwise, there's the tried and true sanding sticks, and then I actually like just the good old sandpaper at the end, like a 2000, to kind of go over the whole thing. And you know, especially for like using a surfacer, it just makes everything stick really well. Oh, that's the other method. You can take like a surfacer liquid and kind of drip it in the cracks, let it dry, probably takes about a day, and then sand that down as well. That also works. I've done that before. But yeah, let me know what you guys use. This is just kind of what I'm doing. Definitely going to be working on this for a little bit tonight, just trying to get those edges clean and those wings matching up, and then, you know, we'll let that dry and make it look like part of the wing. But yeah, let me know what you guys are working on. Let me know your methods of filling and sanding, and we'll see you in the next one.